Charles, we find ourselves in a version of reality where Barack Obama is having to bear the unbearable lightness of being completely full of Shiza. How are you?
It's a great poster. I hesitate to say it because every week I have to say this is in the top five. But what about the previous top five? We're
Yeah.
gonna have to like invent new numbers or something. But
Yeah.
no, if I ever even think about getting a hat like that, take me directly to a psychiatrist. I mean,
that's a bowler hat. You have to go bowling to get that hat. Comes with a bowl of soup.
Yeah, bowl of soup looks good on you.
Right.
But the other thing is, those, I don't know if you ever saw them, but at Yale, snobby people wear these white shoes, white buck that are like suede shoes. I never understood what doing that.
I never saw that. A white shoe law firm, maybe that's where they get that from.
But in Charles, the summer,
we have so much to talk about today because obviously, you're back to talking about Hillary Clinton's emails. This is all to distract from Epstein, but what do you think?
So here's what I think. I think this is fantastic news, not for Obama, but for the cause of getting to the bottom of why globalism and wokeism has infected the West. This has been a long-term project. They decided that if you can force George W. Bush across the finish line in 2000, we can get this idiot Obama and install him as our friend Katya likes to say, Obama. We can put him in the presidency for 8 years, grift to our heart's content. No one will be the wiser. The guy will walk around like he's God incarnate, create his Easter Island head library, and ignore the fact that we stole under his watch 2 trillion, 5 trillion, you pick a number. So the point here is that all the work that we've done, and you in particular, I've done a lot more work than I have, but together we've done a tremendous amount of work since 2017, is now in a new zone. There is going to be either a decision not to prosecute Obama, which will, I think, drive MAGA supporters crazy, or a decision to prosecute him, which I think is a good idea. But the fact is, the Department of Justice has to make that call. This is a much bigger call than Epstein. And the fact that they would actually push it out across the line, that she would refer him politically, tells me that there's classified information that she has and we don't have that just knocks him and the co-conspirators directly into jail. The big question here is, to me, the biggest question is not the minutia of is it this reason or that reason. It's why would a man who could have pardoned himself, right, and gotten away with it, why would he go down this lane, which was eventually certain to fail? Why would he do this instead of pardoning himself? Okay,
but he would have to admit that he did some kind of crime to pardon himself.
You don't.
And nobody.
No, you don't. Nixon didn't. Ford didn't. Nixon didn't admit anything. You absolutely would not have to do that, and he could have done that. So the point is, this is now, we're in a new reality. You can't accuse us credibly of being conspiracy theorists for trying to understand what's really going on here. And a lot of people, you'll have the limited hangout tribe, the Matt Taibbis and all those guys are going to try to push the story in one direction. But the beauty of what we have is that the evidence that Obama and the Bushes and the Clintons have been trying to cover up, unfortunately for them, is all in the public domain, different versions of it. And now the weed whackers are going to go after this and say, now, wait a minute, maybe it is reasonable to ask, what the hell was Obama doing between Columbia and Harvard Law School? Who paid his bills? How did he then get into Harvard Law School? Who pushed him through there? How did he get... it's reasonable to start asking all these questions to understand his motivation. And, frankly, he looks even stupider than I thought he was. I mean, why would you wait? If you're gonna steal the election and install Hillary Clinton, do it properly, right? Don't wait till December 8th or 9th to put this this ridiculous plan together. This is the most anti-democratic attempted coup that I can think of. right? These are Democrats who say, we believe in the process. We believe in the people. We have our experts, trusted bureaucracy. All the experts said Hillary Clinton is sick, and Vladimir Putin, according to this latest release, is preparing for her to be the president. That was the Russian posture. All the the memos. You and I don't have staffs, but in the day when I did, the people working for me would be careful, and we would all consider judgments on things, and there would be a lot of backup information. All the backup information repudiates this plot, and they knew that months before the election. So why do this? Why then why fight Trump the way they fought him? Why impeach him the way they impeach him? Now we get to go in and ask, who the fuck was this Eric Ciaramella? We couldn't even talk about him. Who was he? How did he get in that position? How did it get to a place where, somebody who wasn't physically present during this alleged phone call between Trump and Zelensky would be able to catapult his view of what may have happened then into a second impeachment trial? How did that happen? Or a first impeachment, I forget what.
How about the bizarre nature of even mentioning this guy got you zapped from social media? I mean, here he is now. You can just Google him, but there was a time not that long ago where none of these pictures of him were available. I mean, is that not the most Orwellian, kind of Soviet police state sort of thing you can imagine?
Right. And then, the second issue is, you and I know we've been on the receiving end of suppression on social media, you more than I. And imagine, what power the CIA and the FBI should have to get to the bottom of things, given, their ability to harness AI and the internets that Al Gore created. It's just amazing to me, the bullshit that has been spewing out of Jim Comey and John Brennan's mouths and Barack Obama's mouths. I mean, the way he came out, Barack Obama reacted to the Friday afternoon pronouncement of Tulsi Gabbard speaks volumes. He doesn't himself confront the camera. He has some knucklehead issue a statement from the, quote, office of Barack Obama, and then starts talking about, dignifying the office of the president. Fuck you. Right? Right? It was a lame brain response. And again, why this is so great, I wouldn't want to be in a contest with our federal government. Right? I would assume I'm going to lose because they have, they can outspend a billionaire.
What did Putin say about Zelensky? In a contest of idiots, he would come in second?
Yeah, but so now here's Barack Obama with his 4 freaking mansions, going around the world, flying private, bemoaning climate change. Now he can't do that, right? He better be worried about what's going to happen to him next, because he is in a heap of trouble at this moment. Now maybe he can push it to a declination to prosecute. Maybe he can get there, but as of this moment, he has to worry, and the people around him have to worry. And anybody who's thinking about giving him money at this point is a moron. So he's spending his own money at this moment on lawyers. And yes, he has a lot of it, but he doesn't have as much as the federal government does. And also, I would add, he's not exactly, in his efforts to get a worthless sack of potatoes elected as president, when he went around imploring the brothers, suggesting they were sexist if they didn't vote for Kamala Harris. It's not like he has, 100% support among the Black community. Many people I know, particularly lefties, hate him. So,
Charles, it's curiously difficult to find this idiotic Barack Obama response. You would think just typing in Barack Obama response would bring it right up, but it's bringing up articles talking about how he did it.
Yeah,
but it doesn't really link to it.
And the other thing to remember here is that Barack and the Obama team and the Clinton team hate each other. It was a marriage of convenience. The Clintons had money. and they had the dirt on Obama, is my working hypothesis. And so they told him, yeah, she wanted to be vice president, and they pushed back and said no, according to my reading of his book. But they said, look, we're going to control the contacts with all people outside the United States. We're going to, the Clinton Foundation is going to go into hyperdrive. You're not going to touch it. And I'll spend 4 years getting you reelected, and then I'm going to work on feathering our nests, the Clinton family's nests, and prepare to run the world. That's what I'm going to do, and you're not going to say shit negatively about me. And so what kind of dirt would the Clintons have had to be able to behave that way against Barack? It had to be serious. And I think Jerry Corsi and Larry Sinclair know only maybe 25% of the dirt.
Yeah.
And so this now we're in a whole new realm here. Saint Obama, the churches that worship Saint Obama are shut. He's going to get as much in the collection plate from that as, Jerry Falwell, if he were still alive, would get in one of his crazy churches. The religion of Saint Obama is finished. Now also, I think we get to tear in, as Tucker was starting to do, what was really going on with John Podesta and Tony Podesta and the spirit cooking and all that crap. What is going
Charles,
on with it?
Real quick, before we move off of that, I just want to point something out to you here. So this statement came from Patrick Rodenbush, which
great name,
office of the president. But now I'm looking on LinkedIn, and already it says that this guy is the former special assistant. So
wow.
Yeah, I don't know. Isn't he still the special assistant? But it's weird how it's not really, it's difficult to find. I mean, they really do seem to have an unusual control over what is or is not on the internet. And one last thing on our buddy Chiarmella right here. I don't know if you can see this on the screen, but just Googling his name, the first thing it brings up is, 3 pictures of him. But then look at this. The second thing is Lawfare Daily. Ukraine-Russia negotiations with fellow Mikhailo Soldatenko, right. And he sits down with Chiarmella. Only 4 weeks ago, Lawfare is talking Chiarmella. Pretty interesting.
Well, remember, in the minutiae, and there's a lot of minutiae that we've already covered, but Victor Pinchuk, a billionaire of suspicious wealth, it's unclear how he went from having no money to marrying twice the daughter of a president of Ukraine, married one, divorced, married a second, was one of the most important early donors to the Clinton Foundation HIV/AIDS initiative in Ukraine, where money was spent in Ukraine, in theory, fighting HIV and AIDS, but also a project was launched in a Siberian prison, of all things. Why would you fight HIV and AIDS in a Siberian prison using Ukrainian money?
I mean, is it even a problem there? Yeah, why? Right. Siberia is Russia, isn't it?
Right. And on this question, Bill, it's funny, when you believe you're never going to be caught and never going to be prosecuted, you write stupid books. And, I'm in the midst of writing a book like stuff right now, and you make a decision. Most people don't have the patience to read even a 400-page book. So there's a lot of pressure. Peter Schweitzer's recent books are short. I don't want to do that. I want to write maybe 400, 500, 600 pages. Bill's book is 1,000 pages long. And clearly, nobody say, hey, Bill, look, you're fantastic. You're wonderful. You're the best thing out of Arkansas since I don't know what, Razorback pigs. But those good. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a pig aficionado. I live in a Muslim country. It's mostly no pork here. But anyway, can you not cut the book down to like maybe 700 pages? Can we lose 300 of this?
Any of those guys, this is like James Cameron making 3.5-hour movies about blue people. Do we really need this?
Right. So, but in the book, he did it. You see, again, this is now, she did it, Tulsi did it. Now he's, criminally, and we don't know what crimes yet, but he's he's in the spotlight, the Department of Justice. That's got to be the biggest case at the Department of Justice right now, right? Epstein's important, but this is massive. And people are, in law schools and everywhere, and the bar, they're saying, "Whoa, wait a minute." To decide to, there's in the FBI, I think, domestic operations guide talks about politically sensitive cases, and this is clearly a politically sensitive case. The standards for prosecuting are higher, tougher. So they met these standards, and now the question is, what do we do, right? So until they decline, if they decline, or until they prosecute, now is the time to go in with the evidence that's in the public domain and say, how come nobody has connected the dots between Jim Comey going in to an investigation that Mary Jo White was hell-bent for leather to prosecute the Clinton Foundation? You can see it in the four-part dump. The amount of stuff that came out under her short tenure compared to the amount of stuff that came out under Comey. She's ready to get the Clintons for not just, in my view, Mark Rich, but for using the Clinton Foundation as a piggy bank from October 23rd, 1997. For all of 97 and all of 98, there's no financial report. The first report comes out in 99. So this is a very important period where, there was a chance that Bill could have been, maybe, if all the evidence came out on what was really going on, he might have been convicted. So they used the second presidential inaugural trust as a piggy bank to pay off people to cooperate from stifling the investigation, stopping the impeachment. And having done that, they said, this fucking thing is great, this piggy bank. We'll set up all these initiatives. We'll set up all these bank accounts, all these fake names. We'll declare a certain amount of money, but we won't have an auditor. We'll use first a firm that wasn't licensed in the state. They'll produce all these fictitious reports. We won't even bother with an audit that was required in 97. We won't file a tax return. And we'll get lame brain, Stretch Comey, to come in and pretend, to run in place, pretending he investigated it, so we could steal as much money as possible, specifically at least $64.5 million during 2004, a large chunk of cash, which probably funded lifestyles, but certainly helped Democrats in a year where they needed money. And then we'll put together this audit when we're forced to, but the first audit is a complete fraud. As I have demonstrated before, I'm going to demonstrate it in a way that's going to make your head spin. So Comey was centrally involved in obstructing that investigation. Then they put him back in 2014 to make sure that Hillary Clinton has enough time to clean out her email drawer and clean out the records or whatever. And they've tried to force Hillary Clinton down our throats with Comey in the driver's seat as head of the FBI. And he's now directly connected to this. He's already been referred for criminal indictment, and now so has his boss. So, I mean, this is, I never thought I'd live to see something like this. This is amazing.
Well,
in my wildest dreams, I never believed, I was prepared to believe that an African-American would be president. But the fact that this guy would do such a horrible job as president, he destroyed the healthcare system, the educational system, America's standing in the world. He caused untold misery around the planet with his regime change assaults, in part initially led by Hillary Clinton. But what do? The swamp says, let's give this guy a fucking Nobel Prize. Why don't we bring get the DNA of Al Capone back and make him Mother Teresa? I mean, this is ridiculous what happened with him. And he was all poised. He has $1 billion as of the last audit, close to $1 billion in his fucking ridiculous non-presidential foundation. And now this.
Isn't it interesting that the mainstream news, they call it outrageous that they want to prosecute Obama, but not outrageous that they were doing everything under the sun to prosecute Trump?
Right. And and now, Donald Trump was out of power. Look what they did to him. They raided Mar-a-Lago with armed FBI agents, multiple armed FBI, and they planted evidence there. They created that crime scene with all this stuff on the floor, right? They had Alvin Bragg, who really is, there's that, are you smarter than a second grader show or whatever it is? Are you dumber than Alvin? Who's dumber, Alvin Bragg or Barack Obama? Or George W. Bush? It's not a black thing yet. So you got Alvin Bragg's lame brain attempt, Tish James' lame brain attempt. Who was that? Fannie Willis's lame brain attempt, Jack Smith's lame brain attempt, and they were all coordinated.
Yeah.
You know, we know that, and I think Tulsi knows that, and I think there's more to come here.
I was disappointed that nobody has mentioned the lawfare people. I mean, when you say it's coordinated, I believe this is where it is coordinated from, because it's, so much reporting that I'm seeing is going back to, they're saying that this intelligence ICA, this thing relied on the Steele dossier, the lies of Tulsi Gabbard. Look at that, Charles. How dare they say that?
Again, this is not a strong response. Remember that you and I and the public are at a huge disadvantage, because the real battle happened, I think, around maybe the 10th or the 12th. What?
This is written by Benjamin Wittes, The Lies of Tulsi Gabbard. This is just from yesterday. Well, we're going to have to read this, but I mean, obviously he's got to be nervous, because if it comes around to him.
Right.
Look at that. They're talking about the Wall Street Journal.
Again, all of this is, we have been focusing on the heart of the crime. The heart of the crime is that Republicans and Democrats create these fake organizations through which, at this point, trillions of dollars are routed. Much of it is used to fund the deep state. What isn't used to fund the deep state is used in campaigns and for lifestyles. And that's just how DC works. Everybody does it. The CPAC does it. The Clintons do it. Act Blue does it. Scam Bankman-Fried did it. They all do it. And where does a lot of that money go? It goes to buy media time, advertising time. So the media is not all that keen, given what's happening to them already, to see another source of funding go away. So the media is in its death throes. The deep state is in its death throes. And now Barack Obama has a massive stain on him, right? The honor of being the first president who has been referred for criminal prosecution for leading a seditious, a treasonous coup against an elected president. And I would argue 3 times. He did it in 16, he did it in 20, and he tried to do it in 2024. We're going to find out.
Some people are saying that the statute of limitations has expired. I mean, we'd have to talk to a lawyer about that, but I don't know. It always seems like they have some magical way of extending the statute of limitations when they need to do that.
No. If it's a conspiracy, there's no issue. There's no
some
statute.
guy in the I think it's an ongoing conspiracy. You mean, because there was a guy in the press pool when I agree it is, but there was a guy in the press pool today when Tulsi Gabbard was talking at the White House with. What's her name? Carolyn,
Levitt.
Press secretary. Yeah, Levitt. This guy said, the statute of limitations has expired.
Again, none of that matters. None of that matters. The big picture here is that a decision was made to refer the first African-American president for criminal prosecution for a crime, likely, whose penalty is death. I mean,
and to the DOJ, like what you're saying, when Trump was prosecuted, it was Alvin Bragg. It's not really the same thing. We got to continue talking about this, Charles, but it's time for us to head on over to the First Amendment Forum. So people who want to stay with us can join us on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. And of course, it'll be there for subscribers who are following on X at JG_CSTT. Time flies, Charles, when you're reveling in the prosecution or potential prosecution of Barack Obama. We'll be right back, everybody. Stay with us.